Christmas 1958, as the best my memory serves me. Cowboy shows on TV were all the rage, with Roy Rogers, the Lone Ranger, and Gene Autry my favorites. All the boys in the neighborhood watched Have Gun Will Travel, Sugarfoot, Wagon Train, and the granddaddy of them all, Gunsmoke. So there were plenty of characters for us to choose from and imitate. I always wanted to be Roy Rogers, the king of the cowboys, and had daily arguments with my best friend Ricky Smith, who also wanted to be Roy Rogers. Usually after he punched me in the stomach, I volunteered that I would be Gene Autry and he could be Roy Rogers. A day or two after Christmas, the kids in the neighborhood had a tradition of rounding up everyone's Christmas trees and piling them up in Bobby Allison's backyard to make a big fort. We then brought out our new cap guns and cowboy outfits to recreate our version of the shootout at the OK Corral. There was a small window of opportunity before the trash man came around with a special dump truck to haul away the prickly mess. It was only natural that I, like every boy in the neighborhood, had a new set of cap pistols at the top of the Christmas list. We lived in the downstairs apartment from Tubby Barnhart on Lincoln Avenue in St. Albans, West Virginia. There are several things I recall most about that Christmas when I was 7. The tree was in the front window and decorated with shiny balls. An ugly little green construction paper chain I'd made in school, a metal red and white star on top just like the one in the movie A Christmas Story, lots of those foil icicles Mom got at the Rexall drugstore down on Walnut Street, and of course, several strands of multicolored lights. That was the first year that we cut down our own tree on Grandpa's farm. He had gotten a bunch of white pine seedlings from the state a few years earlier and planted them on the hill behind the little chicken house. It took a lot of searching to find just the right one, which we finally did. It wasn't as shapely as the ones we got at the tree lot, but it was free, and a free tree was always better than one we had to pay for. It was my baby sister Marcia's first Christmas. She was about 6 months old and already showing a very determined personality. No matter what my mom did, Marcia could not resist the glow of those pretty lights on the tree. She was just starting to crawl and reach for the decorations, and when she would touch one, she would turn and give all who were present an ornery little grin with 4 little white teeth, 2 on top and 2 on the bottom. My dad worked for the Frito Company and had a potato chip route, and one day he brought home a big glass jar that had the words "Rolled Gold Pretzels" stenciled in blue paint on the side. The lid had gotten broken, so he brought the container home with the creative idea that if we turned the writing to the back side and put some gravel in the bottom, it would make a great fish bowl, and it did. About a week before Christmas, I was in my room looking at my pretzel bowl full of guppies when I heard my mom at the top of her voice yelling at Marcia to stop something she was doing. As I rounded the corner, I saw my sister being held upside down with my mom's fingers digging something out of her mouth. My baby sister had decided to taste test a bright red light bulb and had broken it off with her 4 little teeth. The lights were turned on, but somehow Marcia had no signs of being shocked or burned by the incident. And even more surprising, after the slivers of broken glass were extracted from her mouth, she had no cuts. It was not the last time she would pull this stunt. She did it again the next day, again with no harm other than the gray hair that started to show on Mom's head. We went to my Uncle Robert and Aunt Frances's house in Charleston on Christmas Eve that year, and they gave me my first football, and my sister got a little white and brown cow. From that moment on, it was called Moo Moo, and was her all-time favorite stuffed animal. I loved the football, but I couldn't wait to see if Santa was going to bring me new cap guns. I had spoken directly to the real Santa Claus in his red and green plywood shack on the sidewalk in front of Cox's department store in the shopping center. I told him I wanted new cap guns with holsters, an airplane that could really fly, and a chalkboard so I could practice writing my numbers. I figured I'd throw that part in about practicing numbers so he'd think I was working hard on my schoolwork. On Christmas morning, I was up before anybody else trying to see how well Santa had filled my list. It was too dark to see much, but I could just make out the glimmer of a pair of shiny new 6-shooters. I was afraid to turn on the lights and wake up everybody, so I curbed my excitement and went back to bed and impatiently waited. When what seemed like an eternity had passed, We were gathered around the tree opening gifts. There they were, a matching set of cap pistols, with genuine leather holsters trimmed in dark brown and tan, bedazzled with big, bright yellow plastic jewels and shiny imitation silver rivets to accent the oversized pot metal belt buckle. They were perfect. But before I could strap them on over my pajamas, Dad called a halt to the revelry as Marcia had spotted something all the way on the back side of the tree and was headed for it. Stopping and looking to see if she was going to be scolded, she was instead encouraged, and away she went, dodging the prickly branches poking at her head, and climbing over my cap guns, she grabbed a little pink and blue plastic telephone. It turned out, just like Moo Moo, to always be a longtime favorite of hers. Along with my cherished cowboy outfit, Santa brought me the chalkboard with colored chalk and a battery-powered airplane connected to a flashlight-sized device by a 6-foot cable, which went into the airplane to make the propeller turn. Before noon that Christmas Day, I was out in the yard with it buzzing around my head when my friend Tommy Honecker asked if he could try it. With a proud smile, I handed the controls over. Tommy wanted it to go faster than it would on its own, and started whipping it wildly in ever faster circles. Just as I screamed for him to stop, something popped. It was the little wire cable that ran from the motor in the handle to the propeller in the plane. Broken toy number 1, Christmas 1958. Almost everyone had real Christmas trees except the Hatfields over on the corner of Washington and Sycamore. They had one of those fancy new aluminum trees with a color wheel in their window. And the Waddells, they didn't have a tree at all. They were Jehovah's Witnesses. About 2 days after Christmas, as everyone started taking their decorations down, that's when Ricky, Kenny, Chucky, Robbie, Freddie, and Mark, and all of the other boys on the block started dragging trees to the back of the Allisons' house. They were stacked in a circle, and with a little imagination could be anything from a wagon train to an army fort on the wild frontier. I was ready. I had both pistols loaded with fresh rolls of caps and strapped to my side. The pop, 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 pop of caps was going off. Soon the sweet smell of sulfur filled the air and tickled my nostrils as we pulled our triggers over and over, yelling, "I gotcha!" to replies, "No, you didn't. You just winged me." I distinctly remember coming around the corner of the garage apartment just off the alley behind Beverly Browder's house at full speed, trying to dodge the imaginary rain of bullets coming my way. I was staying as close to the wall as possible when something grabbed my right holster and spun me about to the sound of ripping leather. As I looked down, I saw that I had caught myself on the gray gas meter sticking out from the wall. My precious new holsters were laying at my feet. As I picked them up, I saw that it wasn't just a holster that had been ripped loose. It was the whole belt, shredded between the big pot metal buckle and yellow plastic jewel. Broken toy number 2, Christmas 1958. I took a break from the glorious fun we were having and tearfully made my way home. Mom looked compassionately into my eyes as I told her what happened. She told me to go get the brown belt I wore to school, and she would see what she could do. I tried to gain control of myself and snubbed my crying to a halt. I met her at the kitchen table where she had the paring knife she used for peeling potatoes. Mom picked up my cowboy belt and swiftly sliced through the leather. She then took a holster, made 2 slits in it, and threaded my plain little brown belt through them, and then did the same with the other holster. Quick as that, I was back in the cowboy business. These many years later, I no longer have my toys of childhood, except for one little holster I keep in a special box. But I do have a heart full of memories that were all part of growing up and being loved. It is my hope that this little story will take you on a journey to some wonderful place where guppies lived in a pretzel jar and the smell of sulfur brings a smile to your face.